Right, hello and welcome guys to this quick tutorial video on using OpenVas to conduct a vulnerability scan. So I've got my virtual lab environment, I've got my Kali Linux, and I've got my Kong or my Linux Kong Ubuntu virtual machine. And I've also got my Windows 7, but as you can see, this is not powered on. So I've only powered on my Kong and my Kali Linux. So we'll log into our Kali Linux machine. And from the terminal, what you want to do is to first of all verify what the IP address of your Kali Linux is. So as you can see, in my own case, this is the IP address 192.168.219.136. So my Kali Linux and my Kong are on the same local area network. So what I'm going to do is do a net discover to find out the IP address of my Kong virtual machine. So I'm going to do net discover -r, paste in the IP address and change the last octet to a /0, and I'll use a /16 to conduct the net discover scan. So my scan has completed, and I can verify that this IP address, the one ending in .138, is the IP address of my Kong virtual machine. That's the only machine that is powered on my local area network. This is my default, this is my network address, the broadcast address, and this .2 is my default gateway. So this is my Linux Kong virtual machine's IP address. I can verify that if you've got the credentials to log in to your Linux Kong virtual machine. You can verify that, but in a scenario where you haven't got credentials, you have to probably do some other enumeration like doing an nmap scan to verify the IP address and also the operating system. So I'll just go to my terminal here and verify by doing an ifconfig, and you can see the IP address is consistent, also 138. So I can verify that this is my Linux Kong IP address. So I'll copy this IP address. Now, from another terminal, I would then run this command OpenVas -start. So this is the command to start up the OpenVas vulnerability scanner from your Linux machine. So we can see, please wait for the OpenVas service to start, and it will open up on this IP address or this web address on my Kali Linux machine. So you give it a while to start up, and we should see a web interface pop up where we can access the OpenVas vulnerability scanner. Okay, so you might get this sort of security warning once all you have to do is to go to Advanced, scroll down, accept and continue, or accept the risk and continue. And then we get this login page. All you have to do is click on login, and then you're presented with this dashboard, as you can see. So what you want to do is to go to scan, go to the scan tab, click on task, close that, and then there is this wizard, this tax wizard button, you click on the tax wizard, and then you get this tax wizard box where you can put in the IP address of the machine you want to scan. So I'm putting in the IP address of my Linux Kong, the IP address of my Kong machine. All right, this is what I'm putting into this box, and I just click on scan, and it's as simple as that. So as you can see, immediate scan for 192.168.219.138, and the scan has been requested. So this is going to take a while. It might take a few minutes or a bit more, and the scan would run from 0 to 100%. When this is completed, you see a message saying done, and then we'll be able to see the results of the vulnerability scan. So it's as simple as that. Identify the IP address of the host you want to scan, put it into the tax wizard, and then clicking on start. So you can see here the status is 1%. So I'm just going to pause this video and come back when this is probably almost 100% or 99%, and then we'll go through the results from the scan. So you can do multiple scans if you want. If you, for instance, got your Windows 7 as well, you can find out the IP address of this, and then repeating the same process while this is going on, we can also pop that IP address and begin a scan. So I'll come back to this when the scan is almost finished. Now, just a quick one. If you see this error message when doing your scan, all you have to do is to refresh, and if you refresh, the page should come up again. All right, so if you see that error message, just click on the refresh button and everything should carry on as normal. So my scan is still at 1%. Again, I'm going to pause the video and come back when the scan is almost complete. Right, so at the moment, we can see my scan is on 92%. Okay, so I'm just going to wait a few more minutes and then come back when this is finally done. Right, okay, so we can see that the status is now done. I have the date which this scan was conducted, and we could click on this done status, and here we have the results. So you can see it's arranged by severity. We have the high vulnerabilities that were found, 10.0. These are very high severity vulnerabilities. We can see the type of vulnerabilities, the PHP mailer end of life detection. We have the GNU bash environment variable handling shell remote command execution vulnerability. And we have some other host of vulnerabilities from high to medium to low vulnerabilities as well. If you take a look at the location tells us the port this vulnerability was detected on the specific host. So in this scenario, we have 80. That tells us this is a web application vulnerability because port 80 is associated with HTTPS. So let's take a look at this specific vulnerability. This is the one I'm interested in because it says remote code execution vulnerability. So you can click on a specific vulnerability and you can read more about it. So it tells us this host is installed with a GNU bash shell and is prone to remote code execution vulnerability. So OpenVas has detected this vulnerability. It tells us how it was able to detect that specific vulnerability and also the impact of the vulnerability. So we could see, say, successful exploitation will allow remote or local attackers to inject shell commands, allowing local privilege escalation or remote command execution depending on application vector. So exploiting this vulnerability will lead to attacker having a remote command execution so they can get a shell on the target. It tells us that there's a solution, so apply the patch. So this is the recommended fix. It tells us the affected operating system and also the version of the application that is affected. And we can read more about this vulnerability detection. We can read about the CVE. We can read more about this. So if you click on some of these links, you can read more about the specific vulnerability. and read more about it. Documentation. Also, you can find information regarding fixing that specific vulnerability. So these are the results. So if we go back to our task or dashboard, we can see the results from our scan. So if we go to task again, we can see the results of our scan. If we click on the reports, we can also see some more information relating to the scan, and we can click on immediate scan for this. We can see a summary of the OpenVas vulnerability scan. You can see here it says scanner OpenVas. We can click on the reports as well. We have one report. Let's go back and look at the results. So we got 79 results. Click on the 79 results. You can see here we have high, 10 high, 28 medium, 3 low, and logs. So basically, this is OpenVas in a nutshell. You perform a scan and then you can view the results. You can navigate your way back to where we were before to have a look at this. So depending on the vulnerability, I'll be concerned about when you find high severity vulnerabilities, especially the one that has to do with remote code execution. So when you're conducting your scan, investigate this to see what impact a specific vulnerability can have and the severity of that specific vulnerability. So another thing we can do is we can generate a report. So typically when you perform a vulnerability scan, sometimes you might have to produce a report that you attach to your penetration testing. All right. So there's a feature for this here. So if you go to reports, if you go to the scans and to the reports, we can see all of this. Let's have a look at the immediate scan for this. And here I should be able to download a report. So there should be an icon here that allows me to download a report. So let's go to, I'm just looking for the right icon, scans, reports, and we click on this, and then we can download this as a PDF. So click on PDF. All right. And then there's an icon here, there's a green arrow here that says download filtered report. So we can download this report as a PDF. If I click on this, OpenVas will generate a PDF, as you can see, for the scan that we conducted. So you can see this is the PDF. We have the high vulnerabilities first, or the severe ones. We have the medium on port 22, low on port 80, and low on port 22. So here we can see a much more detailed PDF summary of the vulnerabilities as well. So just like we had on the dashboard, we can see here as well. So you can submit this as part of your vulnerability. If you were doing, an engagement or pen test engagement, this would be something that you submit as part of your penetration testing report. So you have all of this here. You can read more about the product. You can read more about the vulnerability and the solution. So in a nutshell, that is how to get started using OpenVas. So like I said, you can perform more scans. So if you just go back to task, and then you go back to the wizard, you can, for instance, perform a scan on your Windows 7. So you can power on your Windows 7 as well and find out what the IP address is from your terminal. Okay, so I can go back to my terminal and perform another net discover. All right, and this time around I will get the IP address of my Windows and then put that back into OpenVas and perform another scan. All right, and view the reports, view the results, view the vulnerabilities, have an understanding of what the vulnerabilities that are very severe are, have an understanding of the impact that they may have, and how how they could be exploited, read more about it, and have an understanding of that vulnerability for you to be able to exploit it. So that is how to conduct a vulnerability scan using OpenVas in a nutshell. So here now I have the IP address on my Windows, which is the 137. I can go back in here to my OpenVas, put in the IP address, and perform another scan. So as you can see here, I have the one for my Linux Kong, which I've already done, and then I'm starting another one. You can delete a specific scan. So if you've done a scan before, there are icons here that allows you to move a scan to a trash can. Maybe you want to repeat this vulnerability scan. You can delete the one you've done before. You can pause, or you can redo the scan for a specific IP address that you've already scanned before. So there are different options. You just have to get yourself familiarized with the OpenVas environment. And once you're done, you can run the command. Let's go back to where we started OpenVas from. To start OpenVas, we did OpenVas start. You can just do an OpenVas stop, and if you click on enter, the OpenVas service will be terminated. So I hope you've learned a lot from this video on how to use OpenVas vulnerability scanner to conduct a vulnerability scan. Thanks for watching, and I shall speak to you some other time. Take care.